dead ends. Couldn't bring myself to pretend, but in my darkest night, a breakthrough. Heard you call my name, and now I'm facing you. Something falls from the sky, suddenly I'm awake. I'm alive, I'm aware, there's a chance I gotta take. Something falls from the sky as it cuts through the night. Power lifts me higher, gonna be dancing in the light. Scared to dream about the person I could be. Without the chains surrounding me, now you've shown me what lies behind the door. See me crying out for more, 'cause in my darkest night, a breakthrough. Heard you call my name, and now I'm facing you. Something falls from the sky, suddenly I'm awake. I'm alive, I'm aware, there's a chance I gotta take. Something falls from the sky as it cuts through the night. Power lifts me higher, gonna be dancing in the light. Dancing in the light. Dancing in the light. Dancing in the light. They don't believe, they say I'm out my mind. 'Cause I got something they're all out to find. I was down on everything, was wrong, so wrong. Turn to see your face, and now I am reborn. Something falls from the sky, suddenly I'm awake. I'm alive, I'm aware, there's a chance I gotta take. Something falls from the sky as it cuts through the night. Power lifts me higher, gonna be dancing in the light. Something falls from the sky, suddenly I'm awake. I'm alive, I'm aware, there's a chance I gotta take. Something falls from the sky as it cuts through the night. Power lifts me higher, gonna be dancing in the light. Dancing in the light. Dancing in the light. Dancing in the light. Dancing in the light.
Well, good afternoon. Welcome once again to the Smartphone Video Show, here for you every Friday from 1 o'clock. I'm Colin Kelly, alongside Emma Baker. Good afternoon, Emma.
Good afternoon, Colin. Good
Great
to be here.
Yeah, it certainly is, as the counting goes on in the Scottish Parliament election, so good to get a breather from that. And if you've just turned off the television, turned off Glenn Campbell and Kirsty Wark and all those others, you're in the right place for all things smartphone video production. And, Emma, you've had quite a successful week on the Instagram Reels. Tell us a wee bit about that.
Yeah, the last couple of weeks I've just been experimenting a bit with Instagram Reels, because I love spending a lot of time on Instagram for personal browsing, but we're not on it much as a business, so I was just trying it out. And Reels is just such a fun format for smartphone video. I've just done a blog post about this, actually, and I've created 5 or 6 short videos as part of a series. You know, Reels is 30-second long videos. It doesn't have to be high production values, just either fun, like dancing and lip syncing, or helpful and educational for your audience. And well, that's what I did, because I wasn't going to
You're not dancing or lip syncing. Ah, that's a shame.
No,
that's
not
a
yet.
shame.
Maybe you know, a year into Instagram Reels, I'll be persuaded, but not yet.
And what I've seen you do, and I know that there's some other creators, as we call them, that you follow, when you're not dancing or lip syncing, it's about trying to take something valuable or interesting or information or a bit of learning, but to try and do it in an engaging way. And I guess the exciting thing about Instagram Reels is that there are tools already built into it that are going to help you do that.
Yeah, and you can actually edit your whole video on Instagram Reels, record it and edit it in there, and you can add text, and it's very similar to Instagram Stories if you're familiar with that, but there's even more effects, and I think there's more scope for video really than in Stories. So yeah, you can add text, you can add effects, you can trim and cut your videos, and then the great thing with Reels is the music tracks that you can add these licensed music tracks. So you could put on the latest Dua Lipa track or whatever's trending, and that can really help you get in front of a lot of people.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that excited me from the business point of view, was the reach that you got with those reels compared to other bits of content that we've put out. It seems to have performed particularly well, just purely looking at the numbers.
Yeah, like one of them, we're over 8,000, and that's in an Instagram account for Comsteria, where I think we've got about 124 followers. We don't use Instagram as a business. We're much more present on LinkedIn. And yeah, 8,000, and another one's got 2,000, and it just seems so quick. So the thing with Reels is it shows up, Instagram are really pushing it. So the Reel will show up in the feed as well as in the Reels. So you don't have to be looking at Reels to see someone's Reel that they've shared. And it will also be shown to people who aren't in your audience. So this is getting in front of people who don't follow Comsteria. And we've gained new followers from that.
Yeah, so if you are doing this, if you're running a small business, if you're running a comms team, if you're doing PR, if you just want a bigger presence and you get your content out there, and especially I think if you're already using Instagram, it's not that much of a leap to start making use of Instagram Reels. So you'll find Emma's blog post about that, more detail about what we're talking about at comsteria.co.uk, and just visit the blog. And also, Emma, I think was it last night you put out your latest smartphone video newsletter? Tell us how we can sign up for that and what sorts of things you've been talking about there.
You can sign up for that at the website, comsteria.co.uk/smartphone video newsletter. I'll also put a link in the description. I'm meant to do that before the show, actually. I can put a link there, and I'll share a link on social media as well that you can sign up to the newsletter for. And it's just once a month, an update, just really collating all the content that I've been creating. So collating my YouTube vlogs, telling people about the live show, and I've usually done a couple of blogs as well during that time. So making sure that you're always up to date with what it is that I'm exploring in terms of creating smartphone video.
Yeah, like many businesses over the last 12 months or so, Comsteria has had to change, and we've transitioned. And the exciting thing about that is we spend a lot less time travelling now. So that time where we used to be travelling around, going to see clients, we can now spend it creating better content for you, but also staying across all the different social networks, the emerging trends, and keeping you up to date with all of that. So subscribe, sign up for that newsletter, and you'll get all Emma's hints and tips throughout the week. And of course, every Friday from 1 o'clock, we're here, which is why we're here today. And Emma, today we're going to be looking at, well, in a moment or two, 3 golden rules for smartphone video production. There was one that, for general video production, that came to me the other day. I was, again, on Zoom calls and Teams calls and all that stuff, and talking to businesses, and they'll talk about Zoom fatigue and how fed up they get with these meetings. And I said, look, why don't you just buy some USB microphones? Even if you're not always doing videos or podcasts, just having your general work Teams meeting with a proper USB mic and give your colleagues the courtesy of being able to hear each other properly. And I hear from people, they're back-to-back Zoom and Teams meetings throughout the working day, and on every single one of them, there's howling feedback. They've got colleagues that are sitting way back, tapping their pen and drinking their coffee, and they're in the kitchen, so you got all this echo around them. The difference it will make to your own sanity, I think, just investing in £150, a USB microphone, it becomes an asset for you. There's really good things get talked about in some of these meetings that we have. If we can't hear each other, it just causes endless frustration. So I would really advise get a USB mic, get a decent camera as well, and start making these, in-house, interdepartmental work discussions. Start making them a pleasant experience rather than constantly worrying about how you look and how you sound. I don't know if that's too much of a rant, Emma.
No. By your standards, definitely not too much of a rant. No, I would agree. And I think just hearing you talk about that, I think probably we don't realise the kind of stress levels. There's kind of imperceptible little things that raise your blood pressure. And, sitting in a Zoom meeting when you've got 5 different people and you can't hear them properly. There's maybe 2 or 3 people, like you say, with an echo, or you can't hear them properly. And I know how that feels, just trying to watch someone's video and they've not used a microphone or something. It just frustrates you, and you can't with a video, I just turn it off. I just say, well, I won't watch that anymore. But with your colleagues in a meeting, you just have to put up with it. And we kind of maybe accept lower standards, but I think we perhaps don't realise how that feeds into the general stress that we're already feeling from all this working at home.
Yeah, totally. Hi to Jim Alexander and all the team at Alexander's Family Butchers. Great to have you tuned in. And if you're looking for a great small business, a great example of how to use video and smartphone video, Alexander's Family Butchers are well worth a look. And the thing is, I know there's other businesses just like them sitting thinking, oh, we can't use video. We're just a butcher. What can we do? They're doing it really well. So hi to Jim and the team. Hope all's well with you.
Can I just jump in there and say hi to, because I was thinking about them when I was writing my blog about Reels yesterday, and they popped up in my Instagram feed, and Jim's doing so many great videos, but it doesn't have any Reels, so I would suggest to him to get onto Reels, because like I've just said, the reach that we've got, 8,000 views from an account of 124 so quickly, and not all of it will be local people who are going to be able to buy your produce, but I know they do online and deliveries and all the rest of it, and I think it would really fly for a business like that to get onto Reels.
Yeah, so good advice for Jim, but also maybe something for us. If we had some pies and sausage rolls to sell, and you keep doing the Reels, maybe we could start a sideline.
Well, let's get baking.
So Zoom fatigue is real. I think anything that you can do to improve the experience, if you're going to be doing a lot of these, online meetings and so on, then invest in a camera, invest in a decent USB microphone, some headphones as well, make a huge difference. You can find out all the kit that we recommend at comsteria.co.uk/store. Jim says he's on the case with the Reels. He's going to do it. No problem. We'll look out for watching them. Emma, let's get to golden rule number 1 then for smartphone video production. And I guess one of the things we really want to avoid is a long, rambling video, right?
Yeah, short is the absolute golden rule. So these are my 3 golden rules that I start off all my training sessions with, and kind of everything grows from there. And that's the first golden rule. Keep it short and punchy, short and focused. Nobody likes a ramble, so I'm going to stop.
Well, people also ask, it's one thing saying keep it short, and I love when we do training, I'll ask clients sometimes, what do you think short is? And some of them will say 5 minutes. So is 5 minutes, is that short enough?
There's always the caveat of it depends. It depends on your message and your audience and which we'll talk about next, and your platform. But I would say by and large, especially for smartphone video, 5 minutes is too long. 2 minutes, I would say, is your upper ceiling for video, and it's just getting shorter and shorter. I used to very much say 1 to 2 minutes. Now I would say, well, maybe try and keep it 30 seconds to a minute when you think about platforms like Reels and TikTok. But 2 minutes, and let's say YouTube is taking that as a bit of a standard. After 1 minute of viewing, you will have lost 40% of your audience, presuming that you got them to watch it in the first place. So once you've got them captured, you've lost 40% of people after 1 minute, and 60% of people after 2 minutes. So the kind of quality that you're producing, there'll be YouTube producers who produce 10, 15-minute videos. And even them, I was watching a guy the other day, he produces amazing videos, and he says the average view time is 5 minutes. Most people don't watch beyond that. But for most kind of mere mortals who don't have some huge following on YouTube, 2 minutes, I reckon you'll have lost most people.
Yeah, and of course the analytics will tell you that. So, you can take what Emma's saying, but then look at the numbers and the viewing figures and the reach and the duration watched for your videos, and you'll know whether Emma's got this right, whether this applies to you. Don't just take our word for it. Go and look at your analytics. And Emma, I often like the idea of, one idea equals one video. And I suppose as well, and this I guess leads on to part 2, where we're starting to think about the audience and the content. It's really about, I guess, sort of how you structure the thing you're going to say. If you can cut out the preamble, maybe get straight to the point, and really, rather than just what a lot of people do, where they do their thinking while they're speaking. You really need to do your thinking in advance.
Yeah, definitely. I think, so short's good, but it's not going to be enough. It has to be focused and relevant, which kind of takes us into the second point, but they are linked. And starting, well, I suppose with what you're saying, that don't start by getting your thoughts together. You should know what you're saying before you turn on. And I think it can be really helpful for your workflow to have the same structure all the time for your videos. And the first thing in any video, no matter what you're talking about, is a hook. something that pulls people in. And for most people making business videos, it's thinking about your audience, what's going to be useful for your audience. And you really want to tell them in the first less than 10 seconds what information you're going to give them that's going to help them. How are you going to help that person today? Are you going to solve a problem? Are you going to show them a product that they need? Are you going to help them overcome some kind of difficulty? Tell them that straight away, and you just keep it simple.
Yeah, and I think as well, when if you're running this in a team, if there's a few of you and you're thinking about video, tell yourself before you even start recording. Tell yourself what the hook is. Ask each other, this thing we're going to do, what's the hook? And if you can't answer that, if you don't know, if you can't explain that quickly to a colleague, then don't shoot that video. Go back to the drawing board, do some more planning, have another discussion about it, because if you don't know the hook before you start, then the video's just going to start to ramble, it's going to unfold, and the audience will never grasp it, and it won't be as strong as it could be.
Yeah, and it's always with the audience at the heart of it. So when you're thinking about getting a relevant message, purpose, audience, message is what you always want to think about, and audience is right at the heart of that. What needs are you serving? So you've got to imagine the situation your audience is in, which is usually scrolling through social media. And so what are you going to tell them right at the start that's going to hook them in? It might be entertaining and dramatic. It might be something visual, but more often than not, it will simply be a dead simple sentence that, watch this video if you want to find out 3 ways to make smartphone videos better.
Yeah, and I think where I'd love our clients to start to get to is to move away from organizations saying things and start showing me people doing things. And I think it would be great with these videos to bring in some of that user-generated content. So instead of, it's the marketing person, it's the comms team, it's the CEO, in your videos, we start seeing the frontline staff, the customers, whoever it is, we start seeing clips of them. So you get this return path with the video. So you're putting content out, but you also start getting content back from the customers or the staff, and you start using clips of them in your video. So you say, we're starting our new, we're doing our pensions roadshow next week, and here we've got a question from Anna, and we actually see Anna asking the question, and then the CEO answers it. So we bring more voices and more faces into our videos. Yeah,
and I think you start, if you do that as well, you start being able to tell more stories as well, rather than it being about you, your organisation, what you want to get across, or your CEO. It's about the people that you actually impact, and that's what should be at the heart of your videos. I think your customers, your clients, how delighted they are, or maybe what problems they've got, or questions they've got that you're helping them to solve. That's all very simple forms of storytelling, when you can help people take a big idea, an abstract idea, and kind of hang it on a person or a character.
Okay, so golden rule number 1, keep it short. Golden rule number 2, structure it, make the most of what you're going to say, find the hook, relevant.
Make it relevant for your audience, and that's part of that, is structuring it so that they straight away see, this is relevant, I need it, I'm going to watch.
So they know the benefits of it.
Yeah.
And golden rule number 3, I guess, is making it visually interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's video, so you want to make the most of that medium. And so the power of video, I think, is that you can show and tell at the same time. So if you really want to go for high production values, that would be, an interview or a presenter delivering the message or telling the story, but then very quickly cutting away as you show what's going on. So you show what's going on in your butchers, or the process of you making your product, or the event that you're showcasing. And you've got lots of cutaway or B-roll footage that you can edit together to show that. And we'll talk in a minute about how you can get visual interest in simpler ways, but I would say that's the ultimate goal.
And that's what you were saying about, if you keep some sort of plan and structure, if you keep a format for each video, then I guess it means you can start saving up templates and like the design of the video, and when you're just dropping in the edits, it's much easier because you just know, right, you're putting this bit in this box and this, and you're not having to build all that from scratch every time.
Yeah, definitely. And that's what I talk about a lot in the training. While I've got these 3 golden rules, and sticking to the same structure, finding a format that works for you, and remembering you don't have to do everything via video, but, pick the thing that you're going to do every week or every couple of weeks on video, and keep it quite similar, because then your workflow will speed up and you'll actually start getting engagement from these videos.
Well, we're on for another 10 minutes or so. If you've got any comments or questions, you can pop them into the live chat. Make sure you tell your friends and colleagues. We're here every week. You can catch up on previous episodes on the Comsteria YouTube channel, or just go to comsteria.co.uk /live, and you'll find everything there, all our previous smartphone video shows. And don't forget the podcast as well. And you'll get Emma's newsletter at comsteria.co.uk /newsletter. And Emma, in terms of like making it visually interesting, are there any like easy tips or easy tools that you would recommend, like that you think a beginner maybe should include to just make the most of it?
I think there's lots that I could say. I think maybe one thing to start with, because my mind's a little bit on Instagram Reels, as we said earlier, a lot of Instagram Reels videos, if you're educating someone or just delivering a message, there aren't loads of fancy cutaways. It's quite low production values. But what people rely on there is making the backdrop visually interesting, making your location interesting, and lots of in-camera transitions. So rather than just sitting statically in your office with a boring white background to deliver your message, well, my videos, I've just gone outside with a gimbal and I'm walking along delivering my message, and that adds visual interest. And then there's text popping up on the screen and the text's animated. Or let's say you're making a 30-second video, you split it into 3 parts, 3 10-second chunks, and you choose a different background for each. And you can do a quick edit between those. And those things just break it up for the audience. And they're used to that kind of fast pace. So that's what audiences expect.
And it doesn't take much. You can make a little go a long way. And, in even like the town centres around you, there's some beautiful buildings, some beautiful locations. And with a little bit of thought about how you frame the shot, which I know is all the advice you give in the training, how you frame it, how you use the light, how you use the sunlight, you can make it look absolutely cracking compared to sitting in a white, sterile office environment.
Yeah, I found that the video that I did a few weeks ago around Paisley, which was all about the ultra-wide lens on the iPhone, but I was like, well, why? I'm not going to sit in here and do it. I'll go out to my local town and make use of that setting. And I think for any businesses, big or small, if you can make use of that context, the video really is great for showing people your location and showing the community that you're part of, and showing that you are, you're not just this kind of severed head in the digital world, but you're part of a local community somewhere, and that's important.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Like, we work a lot with internal comms teams, and they talk about their community engagement and all the things that they do, the sort of corporate social responsibility. They want to be good neighbours. They talk about the local environment. So show us then,
Yep.
Any chance that you get. You don't have to do everything on your premises in your office. Now, it's a little different if you're in manufacturing and you have an exciting factory and you've got machines and you've got stuff going on. But let's face it, a lot of organisations don't have that. You're in the sort of business-to-business services world. And frankly, when I come and visit your office, some of you could be doing anything. So bring it to life. Let's get outside and get in amongst the community. And we've seen the last few weeks, the politicians, of course, trying to do that, albeit in a socially distanced way. And it's kind of disappointing in a way, because I thought that this election campaign might be a little different. It might force them to do more with digital, to do more with social media and video, because they weren't able to hold, the big rallies and the big kind of handshaking and, going around kissing the babies and all the stuff that they used to do. But from what I've seen, none of them still, in politics, or Scottish politics at least, or UK politics, never really seen them cracking digital or video production. It seems there's a lot more they could do. And frankly, even when we sit and watch some of the TV debates, I don't really think they're that good at that either.
Well, no, I mean, I haven't particularly enjoyed them. I'm not sure what you've got in mind for what they could be doing. You mean social media video, like something along those lines?
Yeah.
I mean, I think one of the
But why
things...
can't they, like, if you're just serving MSP and you've been in doing that for 5 years, where's the video that shows me what you've been doing for the last 5 years and why I should vote for you again? I haven't seen that.
Yep. And it doesn't have to... I think the thing with the online world, and I think a lot of internal comms teams and so on could learn that it doesn't have to be big, high production values. In fact, the kind of old-style corporate video turns people off. an awful lot. But whereas user-generated footage, stuff that's shot on your mobile phone, is much more authentic and much more believable. I think there's no kind of barrier between them and you when you put content out in that way. But I think politicians and often big business are quite nervous of that because it also exposes you. And I think that's something that, well, certainly politicians don't really want.
Well, we're lucky we get to work across the private sector and the public sector, and I think there's a huge amount that these two sides can actually learn from each other. So I think if our politicians and political parties thought a little bit more like profit-making commercial enterprises in terms of how they market themselves, rather than just hoping that the party machine is going to see them re-elected again, if they did more to promote themselves on digital. And I don't just mean, regurgitating the policies and what the party stands for. I mean, show me what you're doing today through a video. And we saw one of the debates the other night on the 9 with Martin Geisler and Rebecca Curran, which is a news programme I really enjoy. And they were doing they'd had the debate, I think, on the other channel, and then they were, I hate the way they just cannibalised their own content, but they were then analysing the debate. They were like rerunning the debate, having a debate about the debate.
With the second tier. The debate was like the first pick team got out and they got the big studio with the lights in the backdrop. And then the second tier crew were called out and they were just in their little Zoom boxes up on the wall, weren't they?
Yeah. It's like the reserve lot they go on the 9 with Martin and Rebecca. But the thing I think that maybe they don't all realise is that they were on the screen the whole time. So I think because they were joining in via Zoom, if the BBC cut and they go they take a full shot of, say, one of the candidates or one of the party representatives, the quality's not going to be that great, right? Because it's coming in via Zoom. So what they were doing is they were keeping the wide shot. So you had Martin Geisler looking at the video wall, and they were all on all the time, which meant that when one candidate's speaking, you can see all the others and how they react. And one of them was, I thought, coming across as quite rude, constantly shaking their head and tutting and curling up their nose at it, basically rolling their eyes, before the individual had even said anything. Now, I get that politics can be quite adversarial, but it looked bad, and the others weren't doing it, and this individual was visible and doing it quite a lot. So I think it's being aware that the camera is on you all the time, and that these expressions actually look really big. Yeah,
absolutely. I think the person in question could do with some of your media training, Colin, for sure. It was so noticeable, and particularly, like you said, because no one else was doing it. Either they just had the common sense, or they'd been put through the media training and remembered it. They were very impassive as they were speaking. Just micro reactions, but nothing much. And she, it really came across as just poor sportsmanship, really, I would say.
Yeah, well, that's the risk. That's the risk. And I think sometimes politicians, they get angry because they feel the question's not being answered, or they get angry because they feel that somebody's getting more time than they got. So there might be very valid reasons for that expression, but the important thing, and really it's all I care about, because you can do whatever you like as far as I'm concerned, I don't care, but it's how it's interpreted. And the risk is that somebody who doesn't know you, who hasn't even been listening, they just see that expression, that behaviour, that lack of etiquette, and they make a judgment about you. And I think you just need to be really careful. If you want to do it, then again, crack on. That's absolutely fine. Go ahead. But sometimes you maybe don't realise just how obvious that is and how that might be perceived. It's the same sometimes you get people that, when the question's being asked, they're desperately nodding like that. They do I call it the nod of desperation. So a wee bit of presentation skills training would really help. Just control that a wee bit more. And yes, there are situations where you may wish to shake your head, but you wouldn't want to come across as being rude. And I think especially with these kind of debates where everybody is remote, and even interrupting can be quite challenging, if there's a delay on the line. So there's an art to it, and it's certainly something that you can get better at with practice.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what you said there is particularly true, that a lot of the time people aren't, properly watching. I know we spend a lot of the time, you've got the news on and you realise you're not listening to what they're saying, you're just looking at the visuals and kind of, that's terrible, or that's coming across really badly. And that's what half the world are doing.
And these are the undecided voters. They're the people,
because the snap judgments
people that like make. You are already voting for you. So forget about them. You're speaking to the ones that haven't made their minds up and are only half listening. And hopefully you've been more than half listening today, but that's us just about out of time. Do you like that? Still,
Yeah.
you never
I'm
lose the
working
magic.
on my on-screen reactions when you're talking so that I'm not just sitting going...
We're out of time. Thanks very much for watching. We'll be back again next week. You can catch up with us at comsteria.co.uk. Remember to sign up for Emma's smartphone video newsletter, and we'll see you again.